must mean it's my turn. Thank you and good evening. How are we? Pretty good. Good. My name's Brendan. I'm a cultural representative and cultural educator for Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council in Sydney. And our role as an Aboriginal Land Council under Australia's Land Rights Act, we are the cultural authority, we are the guardians, custodians and caretakers of lands and waters within our boundaries. I'm here this evening to welcome you to country. And very quickly, the welcome to country has taken a bit of a kicking over the last few years. So I'm here to hopefully educate and get rid of a few urban myths. And the first myth I'm going to kick out of the ballpark was, this ceremony was not invented by Ernie Dingo. He never invented it. The second one is, this ceremony is not something that we have invented to cater for white people. Even though it pays a lot more now than it did traditionally. I sat at home and me and my wife, we watched the vote and I was freaking out a bit. What's going to happen with the welcome to country? And when we got the vote, I sat back and I started going. Welcome. If you think about the protocols of a welcome, just a welcome, why wouldn't Aboriginal people have that same respect for each other and our neighbours? Why wouldn't we? This is a ceremony we've been doing for 250,000 years plus BC. And the BC stands for before cook. This is how long we've been here for, since the beginning of time. A lot of people out there will say, you haven't been here for that long, you've only been here for 40 to 60,000 years. Just because white scientists can't prove we haven't been here any longer doesn't mean we haven't. Our stories, if they just listen to our stories of creation, the story of the 7 sisters in the Milky Way. There's a constellation of stars in the Milky Way, the 7 sisters. You can't see the 7th sister anymore. She's hidden behind the 6th sister. So how long does it take for this planet to move into a position where that takes place? How long? This is how long we've been here for. Our word and our definition of the word country, it's not Australia. It's not Australia. So no, it's not a welcome to Australia. Within Australia we have many Aboriginal lands, many Aboriginal nations. Each Aboriginal nation is uniquely different. Different language, different diet, we even dress differently. But one of the things we have in common is we all refer to our homelands as country. So every year when I go home, I go back to country. So this is what our definition of the word country is. Traditionally, if I was welcomed onto my neighbour's lands, there are a few things I need to know. I need to know what food's available on your lands. I need to know where your sacred sites are that I can and cannot visit. What's your totem? What waters can I drink from and can't drink from? Where's the toilet? These are some of the things I need to know traditionally when welcomed onto my neighbour's land. Is this no different than when you welcome strangers into your house? It's the same. You all have your sacred sites in your house. You don't let strangers come into your house and show them where your bedroom is. That's a sacred site. Where's the food? Where's the toilet? And we all have an expectation when we welcome strangers into a house. We expect them to respect our property and everything in the house. Our expectation is you walk respectfully on the lands and waters you're welcome to. It's our expectation. Tonight we're gathered on the lands of the Grass Tree people, Gadigal. Gadi means grass tree, Gal means people. And Gadigal are one of 29 clans that make up the Eora Nation. The boundaries for the Eora Nation start from the ocean. They're surrounded by three of Australia's most beautiful rivers, the Hawkesbury, the Nepean and the Georges River. In between those three mighty and beautiful rivers, there was 29 clans that made up the Eora Nation. No traditional owners left. None left. But the name of the clan we gathered on here this evening is Gadigal. So on behalf of those Gadigal ancestors, because we believe their spirits are still in the lands and the waters, on behalf of Metropolitan Aboriginal Land Council as the cultural authority on these lands, on behalf of our board and our members, it gives me great honour to welcome you here tonight. Welcome to the lands and waters of the Gadigal. I thank you for having me here. It's always an honour, as I said, but it shows that respect that we have for history and country and our tradition. So I thank you for that. I'm going to give my apologies. I'd love to stay, but I have to go and pay a white man by the name of Wilson for parking on my own land. and he's not cheap either. I almost had a chance to say that to Mr. Wilson. I was at another event just quickly. I was about to walk out on stage. Sydney Town Hall, Sydney Symphony Orchestra had just opened up, and one of the big bosses was running downstairs. I had 2 minutes to walk on, and she said, "Uncle Brendan, don't do your Wilson joke." And I said to her, "That's not a joke." I said, "You can't do that to me. You've given me the golden unicorn. When am I ever going to have this chance again in my life?" I said, "Why not?" She said, "Because he's in the audience and we're trying to get some funding out of him." I said to her, "Well, I'll tell him to give you some of the money I've given him over the last 10 years. And I literally walked out on stage and the battle began. The devil popped on this shoulder and the angel popped on this shoulder, and the devil was saying to me, "Go on, brother, you get out there and you give it to him." And the angel was saying, "It's not about you, Brendan." And I never said it. I've been kicking myself ever since for not saying it. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having me here, and once again, welcome to the lands and waters of the Gadigal.
Thank you so much, Uncle Brendan, Karen, for your moving, powerful and funny welcome to country. Yeah, we love having you in the library, so thank you for making the time this evening. So welcome to the library, everyone. It's so exciting tonight, as it is every single year. It's wonderful to see so many friends of the library and so much of the literary world here on the Night of Nights. The library is, of course, a living space for all of us. It's a space for readers, writers, students, researchers. It's about connecting with one another, exploring new ideas and being a part of something bigger. Here at the State Library, we like to say that we endeavour to give you the information you need. And of course, we do that through books and newspapers and manuscripts and maps and paintings. You name it, we've got it. We'll give you the material, but we do not tell you what to think. And we provide that on site. As you came in, you would have seen the Mitchell Library heaving with researchers who are still hard at work till 8 o'clock tonight. But of course, we're available 24 hours of the day with our collections online. I take this role really seriously. Creativity is something to be nurtured, to be gently stoked and encouraged. In a world that expects hyper-productivity of us, where we're replying to 7 emails at once while posting updates on social media, libraries are an antidote, a sanctuary. Writing isn't a multitasking activity. It's singular, absorbing, and focused. You just need to step into the Mitchell reading room or in any of our spaces to witness this. Rooms full of writers, researchers, and everyone in between, minds whirring away. And indeed, in the auditorium tonight, it is full of writers and publishers and agents and indeed readers. And we thank you for your work, your creativity, your dedication. Whether you're here in person or tuning in on our live stream right across Australia, we thank you for joining the announcement of the New South Wales Literary Awards, the richest and longest running state-based literary awards in the country. They recognise excellence, of course, across a very wide range of genres, from fiction and non-fiction to script writing, literature for young people, and so on. As tradition, tonight marks, of course, the eve of Sydney Writers' Festival, where you can hear many of the shortlisted authors speaking. So if you haven't checked the program, please do so. I think there are some tickets left, aren't there, Brooke? So I'm pleased here, obviously, to be joined by the Minister for the Arts, or the Minister for Libraries, as we like to say. He declared his love for libraries in Parliament again last week, which is, of course, music to our ears. The Honourable John Graham, welcome. Our President of the Library Council, the Honourable Bob Debus, is here. We also have the Honourable Bob Franklin, President of the Legislative Assembly, somewhere here. We have all our members of our Library Council here, our Foundation Board, and many of Sydney's cultural leaders are here tonight too. Michael McDaniel, Lisa Harviller, Liz Hughes, Lyndall Hayward, and a number of other people. Brooke Webb is, of course, the CEO of Sydney Writers' Festival, and she joins us tonight. And we also have George Souris, who's our former president of the library. That tells you how much people love the library. He served 9 years and is back again tonight, so welcome. On behalf of New South Wales, we really thank our sponsors as well, who make the awards possible. Of course, Multicultural New South Wales, and specifically Joseph Laposta, who's a great friend of the library. Thank you also to the University of Sydney and the University of Technology, Sydney. And I really want to commend the 35 judges. I mean, that is a lot of judges. I'm just going to give a big thank you to them. They are led, of course, by Dr. Bernadette Brennan, who assessed with those judges more than 700 entries in their pursuit of this very moment tonight. Without your careful consideration, these awards would not be possible. Just as a great book can change the life of its reader, receiving an award or appearing on a shortlist can change the course of a writer's life. What an honour it is to witness that tonight. I'd now love to hand over to our wonderful newish president of the library, the Honourable Bob Debus. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Carolyn. It is a great privilege to be here with you all. It's my first year of the New South Wales Literary Awards as President of the Library Council, but I have been in the orbit of these awards for many years. When they began in 1976, the Literature Board of the Australia Council was in place, but no state funding for writers existed at all. As Neil James wrote later, Neville Wran understood clearly the significance of his gesture when he announced the lofty ambitions of the awards. First, to uphold the writer's place in a free society. Second, to raise and preserve the standards of our literature. And third, to affirm the community's respect for a free and flourishing literary culture. Rand was aware and democratic and open enough to predict that some people would find government patronage a mixed blessing. Traditionally, he said, the relationship between government and writer, or artist of any kind, is a wary, somewhat uneasy one. That's a healthy state of affairs, he said, and I would not want to alter it. Writers are sceptical of official blessing or patronage. However, he continued, where governments have a duty in a free society is in fostering a climate of public awareness that is propitious to the arts and can help establish values and standards. We want the arts to take and be seen to take their proper place in our social priorities. If governments treat writers and artists with respect and understanding, the community will be more likely to do the same. Well, that's what he said 49 years ago, and generally that's what occurred in the decades that followed. Not that this elevated tone has prevailed in every circumstance at these awards. I have been carefully watching the drinks waiters and the caterers tonight because I don't want to have another 1985 experience on my first time in the chair. I'll rely on Neil James again for an account of the event, at which Morris West was the main speaker. He was a founder member of the Australian Society of Authors, and for those who are very young, I mentioned that in 1963, Morris West had published an exceptionally successful book, a world bestseller with papal connotations, called The Shoes of the Fisherman. So this is Neil James' account again. The story goes something like this. It had been a hot day and pre-dinner drinks started early. The food, by contrast, was running late, so wine was flowing in compensation. With dinner finally underway, the guest speaker, Morris West, began his address. I should intervene here and say that the address was about political alienation, and it was actually not all that easy to understand. But the guests themselves were already beyond serious listening. Some tables started heckling, others tried to silence the hecklers. The jeers and jibes turned into flying bread rolls, and the dinner turned into a shambles. The thinly veneered tensions of the literary world peeled away to reveal its deeper hostilities. It's a pity, says Neil James, that reality wasn't nearly so enthralling. In the many years since that particular dinner of 1985, actually 85 it was, the number of buns thrown in the collective memory of the Australian literati is many times greater than the number actually baked for the event. But that only makes them the more real. The Premier's bun fight is lodged firmly in Australian literary folklore. Well, that isn't to say, of course, that the values embodied in these awards are things that can be easily taken for granted. In the America of Donald Trump, they are under direct and sustained attack now. I mentioned that Donald Trump has sacked the head of the United States Copyright Office and the head of the Library of Congress in the last week, apparently in response to concerns expressed about the unrestricted training of artificial intelligence models using copyright material. PEN America has published what it calls a 5-alarm fire for free speech, detailing the blizzard of presidential executive orders that in recent months have attacked diversity, dissent, institutions of education, the press, and cultural institutions. The Trump administration has effectively shuttered the Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services, causing libraries across the country to shut down summer reading programs, suspend digital services, and cut services to prison libraries. These are deeply disturbing developments. But this library, I'm delighted to say, is not threatened in any way at all. It is a vessel for creativity, a place for readers, writers and researchers. Directly above us here, the Mitchell Reading Room, one of the most beautiful rooms in Sydney. There's some magic in it. And more than ever, we need libraries, places of learning that are public, democratic and reliable. And it's in that spirit that I acknowledge the work of all the shortlisted writers tonight. I thank the judging panel, 35 of them, led by Bernadette Brennan, who assessed more than 700 entries with intense care and dedication. And it is my pleasure to introduce the Minister for the Arts, the Honourable John Graham, who I have known for a long time. People always say that, but I have. And I've always wanted to see him in the kind of role that he now discharges with such distinction. He is somebody who believes in free speech, in the rule of law, the power of writing, and indeed the power of libraries. Please welcome John Graham.
Thanks so much, Bob. Bob Davis has an astonishing record of public service, and we're very lucky that he still can't get enough of it. So, Bob, thank you so much for your ongoing service as President of the Library Council. I want to welcome your historical note of caution tonight, but we shouldn't lose all of the spirit of 1985 in celebrating these awards. To Uncle Brendan Kerrin, thanks so much for that welcome to Gadigal land. As we gather here tonight to celebrate the passing on of culture through literature, it is important that we recognise the culture on this land that's been passed on through storytelling, through music, through dance and through art. Before I talk about the incredible group of writers in the room here tonight, I'd like to recognise all of the publishers. Thank you for continuing to champion Australian writers, especially new Australian writers. It's so important when you do that. I'd of course like to acknowledge Dr. Carolyn Butler-Bowden in the State Librarian and the incredible work she's doing bringing this institution to life. To George Souris, former Library President, former Arts Minister, and Ben Franklin, current President and former Arts Minister. To Bernadette Brennan and the other 34 judges, thank you so much for all the hard work that's gone into judging these hundreds of entries. And of course, we're also welcoming Brooke Webb and Anne Mossop from the Sydney Writers' Festival, along with the rest of their team, for what is already shaping up as a wildly successful edition of the Sydney Writers' Festival. But most of all, welcome to all of you here tonight for this ceremony in what I can only describe as great book reading weather. To our finalists here tonight, just writing a book is an enormous achievement, let alone getting it published, let alone being recognised by one of the most prestigious literary prizes in the country. The beautiful thing about books is that they can last decades or hundreds or even thousands of years. So to have the stamp of approval of this award only enhances the longevity of your contribution to the Australian literary canon. And it puts you on the same list as incredible writers like Peter Carey, Michelle de Cresta and Thomas Keneally. And that's not bad company, if you ask me. In this moment of history, we are living through an incredible information revolution. We've had the internet revolution, the social media wave, and now we're at the start of the AI revolution. In Yuval Harari's recent book Nexus, he eloquently explains how the book itself was also an incredible technological revolution that completely changed the world. For example, the great religions of the world could not have gone global without the capability of the book to put large volumes of in-depth information into a single, portable and durable device to standardise a text that can be shared with billions of people and thereby spread and democratise knowledge. The Dead Sea Scrolls on their own were never going to be able to spread religion like the Bible or the Quran have done. And since those world-changing books emerged, there have been many new technologies that have arrived to disseminate knowledge, but the book has survived. Perhaps as digital tablets, not always as stone tablets or paper, but the power of the book remains. And in some ways, it's even more important today because of its power to hold our attention in amongst all the noise and distraction. Its ability to maintain credibility, courtesy of the editing and publishing process, and above all, its ability to change our minds, to spread ideas like wildfire around our world. To our writers, yes, tonight you are joining the list of New South Wales Literary Award winners like Helen Garner, David Malouf or Kate Grenville. But you're also adding to the Australian perspective of a much longer and deeper tradition. Because in decades, hundreds or even thousands of years, when people look back on this time in history, your words are what will help define who we were. And that's an incredible honour. It's also an incredible responsibility. Have a great night. Congratulations to all our writers.
Thank you, Minister Graham, for championing the power of the book and writing. A fantastic start to the evening. I just want to say thank you to Amanda and Dima, our Auslan interpreters here tonight. Thank you. It now gives me very great pleasure to introduce our senior judge, Dr. Bernadette Brennan, a writer, a leader in the literary world and so many other things. And she is going to do what I know you're all waiting for, the announcement of the winners of the 2025 New South Wales Literary Awards. Welcome, Bernadette.
Thank you, Caroline. And thank you, Uncle Brendan Caron, even though he's left. That was actually pretty amusing, the old Wilson car parking line. But to be welcomed and sung on to country is a bit special, I think. And I too pay my respects to Gadigal elders past and present, and to all First Nations people here tonight in the audience or watching online. I also want to say thank you very much to the library staff, particularly Lydia Tasker, Daniela Baldry, Callum McLean and Emma Walsh, because without them, these awards just would not happen. They are extraordinary. To work with them is amazing. So last year, I began this presentation of these awards. It was a very fraught year as we approached the awards, and I began the presentation noting that we were carving out a space for celebration while being very much aware of the geopolitical horrors that we were witnessing. Naively, perhaps some might suggest ignorantly, I envisaged standing before you 1 year on and knowing that our world was more peaceful, more decent, more respectful of human life and the environment. And there are some things to be very pleased and proud about, kindness being one of them in this country. But we have Gaza, the Sudan, the Ukraine, and, as Bob made clear, the United States. I know I'm not the only person in this room who has found it very difficult to concentrate on writing this year. So tonight, I don't want to carve out a space for celebration. I actually want us to stand on the rooftops and trumpet the brilliance and resilience and talent of our writers and our publishers and our libraries, because they continue to craft and tell the stories that we need to hear. Every one of these shortlisted authors tonight deserves our thanks, our respect and our support. So many of this year's 733 books and scripts have nourished my mind, my heart and my soul. So too my fellow judges. We had a number of Zoom meetings. At the pointy end of the process, our discussions flowed way over time and we needed follow-up meetings and emails to reach our final decisions. That's how good the shortlistees are. To spend time with these talented, committed, interesting, articulate judges became something of a highlight for me this year. It was an immense privilege to share in discussions where people's varied perspectives, imaginations, languages and life experiences opened up texts in exciting ways. That is the great joy of judging, but with this panel, it was exceptional. So I'd like to say a very public thank you to the judges, and I'd like you to join me right now in thanking them. Their selflessness, their dedication and their brilliance is something else. So now, Bob, I would like to invite Bob Debus back to the stage for presenting the awards tonight. And I just want to make two notes before we start. The first is that you will recognise a number of these writers' names and books come up repeatedly on these lists. And I think perhaps more than other years. It's really quite striking, which shows the incredible talent. But also it's quite exciting to see that other judges on other panels also celebrated the same texts. And because so many of our writers are spread around the nation and the world at the moment, we have almost half of those winning awards tonight accepting them through video speeches. So it's a little bit different to how it usually is. So, as I present these category shortlists, I'd ask you just to hold your applause until the end of each category, please. The first award we will present this evening is for debut writers, and it is the UTS Glenda Adams Award for New Writing. This award is sponsored by the University of Technology, Sydney, and has been since 2005. It's valued at $10,000. Thank you to UTS, especially Vice-Chancellor Andrew Parfitt and the leadership team. Thank you for your ongoing support for this award. The shortlisted works in this category are Borderland by Graham Ackhurst, UWA Publishing. What's it? Cut Chili by Chenteran Aaron, New Ghosts Theatre Company. Dirt Poor Islanders by Winnie Dunn, Hachette, Australia. Excitable Boy by Dominic Gordon, Upswell Publishing. Rock Flight by Hasib Hurani, Giramondo Publishing. Ultra Wild by Steve Mushin, Allen and Unwin. Why Do Horses Run by Cameron Stewart, also Allen and Unwin. Night Bloomers, Season 1, Episode 3, Friend or Foe by Andrew Undy Lee, Turnabout Entertainment. And Julia by Dr. Tracy Westerman, UQP. And the winner is Julia by Dr. Tracy Westerman. Tracy is one of those authors unable to join us tonight, but she has recorded this video message.
I want to begin by acknowledging that I stand tonight on unceded Whadjuk country from Perth in Western Australia. I want to thank the judges who understood Julia and saw it to be worthy of such an incredible award. As someone who doesn't consider themselves to be a real writer, as a kid from the remote Pilbara, had a pretty unorthodox education through distance education. Being awarded for my writing feels, frankly, a little bit surreal. I want to thank my publisher, Aviva Tuffield, and UQP, who approached me a few years ago to write my memoir, and without that belief, Julia would most likely not exist. Julia means my child in my Nyamal language, for this is about our children. Mental well-being should never be just for the privileged, and Julia turns a light on the reality that it continues to be. Our most vulnerable continue to suffer due to a one-size-fits-all monocultural approach to mental health. Julia shows the human side of Aboriginal people struggling with complex trauma, and from the therapist's couch. It's not always an easy read, but neither should it be, because trauma stories should never be sanitised or sugar-coated, because it disrespects the survivor's journey. But Julia is also about hope and optimism and the strength it takes to believe that change is possible when the worst of pain has been inflicted upon you purely because of your cultural identity. Finally, to my mum, Mavis Westerman, who taught me to be a strong Aboriginal woman because I needed to be. My late father, who taught me to be kind and to never take no for an answer. To my Julia family, including the 64 Indigenous psychologists and students we have developed. Because of you, the future of our most vulnerable looks hopeful. Thank you.
What a way to start the evening. Okay, the next award is the Multicultural Award, an award that I think we should treasure, cherish more than ever right now. And again, referring to what you were suggesting earlier, Bob, At a time when Trump administration is attempting to silence, punish and even eradicate the voices and history of anyone they deem to be diverse. So this award is generously sponsored by Multicultural New South Wales and is valued at $30,000. It covers work across all genres of writing that relate to any aspect of the Australian migration experience, aspect of cultural diversity and multiculturalism in Australian society. The judges of this category were Simon Chan, Sarah Ayub, Toyon, Sami Shah and S. Shaktidaran. The shortlisted works are Translations by Jumana Abdu, Vintage Australia. Cut Chili by Chenteran Aran, New Ghosts Theatre Company. Dirt Poor Islanders by Winnie Dunn, Hachette Australia. 36 Ways of Writing a Vietnamese Poem by Nam Lee, Scribner Australia, an imprint of Sharman and Schuster Australia. Imagination by Jack Manning Bancroft and illustrated by Bronwyn Bancroft, Hardy Grant Children's Publishing. Always Was, Always Will Be by Thomas Mayo, Hardy Grant Explore. And the winner is 36 Ways of Writing a Vietnamese Poem by Nam Lee. You've got a video from Nam, that's right. So Nam also can't join us tonight, but there is a video we have of him.
Hi, I'm so sorry I couldn't be there tonight. Thank you for this honour. Thank you to my fellow nominees for your wonderful works. Thank you to the judges for your time and care, and especially for your citations. It's clear how much labour, how much generosity went into them, and I was deeply moved. Thank you to my longtime publisher and friend, Ben Ball, to Dan Ruffino, Meredith Rose, Anna O'Grady, and the rest of the team at Simon & Schuster. You have been unstintingly, and some would say unreasonably, supportive of what I do. Thank you to everyone involved with and behind these awards, in particular Multicultural New South Wales. And finally, thank you to my family who let me do this thing. Thanks Em, thanks Tess and Marlo. And if I may, I would like to dedicate this award to my dad, whose whole life has been an engine of multiculturalism in this country. Thank you.
I'm not teary. We're only just getting started. Okay, the Indigenous Writers' Prize. The Indigenous Writers' Prize acknowledges the significant contribution made to Australian literary culture by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander writers and is valued at $30,000. The shortlisted works, as chosen by the judges, Luke Patterson, Grace Lucas Pennington and Charmaine Papertalk Green, are When the World Was Soft by Julawalu Group Aboriginal Corporation, Allen and Unwin. Black Witness by Amy Maguire, UQP. Always Will Be by Michaela Saunders, UQP. Refugia by Elfie Shiosaki, Magabala Books. And Julia by Dr. Tracy Westerman, UQP. And the winner is When the World Was Soft by Julawalu Group Aboriginal Corporation. And again, they can't be with us tonight, but we have another video.
My name is Lorraine Coppin. I'm the CEO for Julawalu Group. Julawalu is very honoured and proud to accept this award on behalf of my elders and my members of my people, the Yindjibarndi people. We have spent a long time, me and my husband Michael Woodley, documenting and recording Yindjibarndi history. And I think in the last 6 years we have found that we need to pass it on to the next generation. And obviously a lot of mediums we can use to, tell our story. And I think this is a good way of reaching out to the teenagers of the next generation and sharing this story, which most of them can relate to this sort of design, layout, and storytelling. On behalf of Jalol again, thank you, and hopefully we can do more like this in the future.
The Nick Enright Prize for Playwriting is valued at $30,000. The judges this year were Dylan Vandenberg, Peter Matheson and Paige Rattray. And their shortlisted plays are Cut Chilli by Chancellor Arran, New Ghosts Theatre Company. The Hate Race by Maxine Beneba Clark, Malthouse Theatre. Into the Shimmering World by Angus Serini, Sydney Theatre Company. Bad Boy by Patricia Cornelius, 45 Downstairs. The Past is a Wild Party by Noelle Janiszewska, Siren Theatre Company. And Three Magpies Perched in a Tree by Glenn Shea, Currency Press, La Mama Theatre. And the winner, who is here tonight, Three Magpies Perched in a Tree by Glenn Shea, Currency Press.
I am truly honoured to receive this award, named after Nick Enright, a true Australian playwright, writer, just a magical man. I've had friends who have worked with him and have spoken about him and his work and as a person, and I'm truly thankful to the judges who have read this story, and this story comes from community, comes from grassroots community and the issues that impact our young people who are dealing with lots of issues and trauma, who aren't engaged in any education, training, etc. And took me on a journey in regards to their lives and ultimately how it impacts the worker. And so therefore, how do we plant seeds for our young people to shift and shape their decision making in regards to the choices that they make within their lives, within the environment that they engage in. I'd like to thank the New South Wales Premier Literary Awards for this great honour. As I stated, Nick Enright. I'd like to thank Liz Jones from La Mama, an icon, a national treasure to me, the heart of education at La Mama, Maureen Hatley, who has put this on in regards with the theatre and with the schools, and just has supported it right across the board when nobody else would. I'd like to thank Caitlin Dullard from La Mama as well. I'd like to thank Claire O'Grady from Currency Press, who worked with Maureen to publish Three Magpies Perched in a Tree. I'd like to thank, my son Finn, who lives on country, who lives in a tough environment, back on country, but that reconnection of being a member of the stolen generation and weaving and planting those seeds back into that re-engagement of kinship and country and language. And yes, and my daughter Mia. I have my sister here with me, Sharon Mazza, tonight. This is kind of the first time in our lives where we've been to something like this, so I'm really, really honoured, Jazz, and that. Thank you. And my children's mother, Dr. Kirsty Riley, who has written a PhD about my work in regards to the working community, etc. And also my dearest friend, Andrea Barker, who is a great researcher for me. So thank you very much. I'm very honoured. Thank you.
I think we share your honour for having you here tonight and reading the play. Thank you. The Betty Rowland Prize for Scriptwriting. The judges for this year's award were Katrina Irawati-Graham, Genevieve Chang and Richard Kuipers. They noted one highly commended script in this category, which is The Tattooist of Auschwitz, Episode 2 by Jacqueline Persk, Synchronicity Films. The scripts shortlisted for the $30,000 prize are Heartbreak High, Season 2, Episode 8, Boys Don't Cry by Hannah Carroll Chapman, Fremantle, Australia. White Fever, Series 1, Episode 5, You Chang, I'm Gonna Do You by Ra Chapman and Harvey Zielinski, Black Sheep Films, Orange Entertainment Company and Unruly Productions. Better Man by Simon Gleeson, Oliver Cole and Michael Gracie, Lost Bandits, Footloose Productions. Total Control, Season 3, Episode 5 by Pip Carmel, Blackfella Films. Went Up the Hill by Samuel van Grinsven and Tori Ernest, Causeway Films. Inside by Charles Williams, Simpatico Films, McGowan Films, Never Sleep Pictures. And the winner is Inside by Charles Williams, Simpatico Films, McGowan Films. And I think he's here. There we are.
Shall I go to the other one?
You shall.
Yeah, okay. Thanks so much. This really is an incredible honour for me. I usually identify more as a director or think of myself as a director than a writer, but I spend a lot of my life writing and not that much directing, so it's incredibly encouraging to receive this award. It's a struggle to even think of myself as a writer. But I heard something years ago from Charlie Kaufman saying that a writer is someone for whom writing is harder than it is for other people. And that kind of gave me some encouragement because it's really hard for me. Also that he stole that from Thomas Mann was also like pretty encouraging because that's part of what I do as well. So I really want to thank some of the people as I was writing it. It took years to write this, and I had a little bit of development support from Screen Australia and some development support from the Golden Globes, and also this award and the money that comes with it means a great deal to me and will help me develop the next thing as well. So I want to thank those. I'd really like to thank my partner Olivia and my lovely two kids, Eve and Clara, that helped me help lighten my life so I can sometimes write stuff that's not so light. Yeah, that's right. I really would love to thank the judges. It means a lot to me to be recognised, and I appreciated their words and everything that I read. So thank you very much. I'm sure I've forgotten a few things, but thanks once again. This is a really great honour. Thank you.
And so to the books for younger readers. The Patricia Wrightson Prize for Children's Literature. It's valued at $30,000. And with thanks to the judges, Tim Harris, Anna Feenberg and Toby Riddle, the shortlisted books are Leo and Ralph by Peter Carnavas, UQP. The Truck Cat by Deborah Frenkel and illustrated by Danny Snell, Hardy Grant Children's Publishing. In My Blood It Runs by Dewan Hussain, Margaret Anderson, Carol Turner, and illustrated by Black Douglas, Pan Macmillan, Australia. The Other Shadow by Tanya Ingram, Scholastic, Australia. Ultra Wild by Steve Mushin, Allen and Unwin. Silver Linings by Katrina Nanestad, HarperCollins Publishers. And the winner, who is here tonight to accept, Silver Linings by Katrina Nanestad, published by HarperCollins.
Thank you. I'm blown away. I'm honoured and I'm so delighted to receive this award. I'd really like to thank the State Library and particularly the judges for their time and for their lovely comments on all the books. I'd like to thank my beautiful publisher, Anna Vivas, who's here tonight, and all the staff at HarperCollins who are part of every book that I create, and my lovely literary agent, Jane Nowak. But most of all, I would like to thank my mum, who shared her family stories and was happy for me to share those stories in a fictionalised version. She was such a big part of this whole book. It was a mother and daughter adventure to write this story. And I'm not sure whether my mum's even watching tonight, but if you are, Mum, I love you heaps. You're the best mum in the world. Thank you.
The Ethel Turner Prize for Young People's Literature, also valued at $30,000 and judged by Y. Chim, Davina Bell and Tim Sinclair. The shortlisted books are Smoke and Mirrors by Barry Johnsberg, Allen and Unwin. Birdie by Sharon Curnow, Text Publishing. Liar's Test by Amberlyn Quamelina, Text Publishing. Anomaly by Emma Lord, Affirm Press. The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, Penguin Random House, Australia. And the winner is Anomaly by Emma Lord, published by Affirm Press and Emma Uchiwa.
Don't want to break it. I had a glass of champagne, 3 beta blockers and 1 fisherman's friend. So anything might come out. The last time I gave a speech, I thanked my husband and my daughter last, thinking that you saved the best for last, which my husband was cool with, but it did not fly with my 9-year-old. So this time I'd like to thank her first and let her know that every word I write is for her, even if she is slightly too young to read them yet. I'd like to thank Brendan for the welcome and pay my respects to the traditional owners of the Gadigal and Wongal lands where I live and where my story was written. Thank you to everyone behind the awards, especially the judges of the Ethel Turner Prize. Not only is this a huge honour, but it makes it that much easier to keep doing what I love, which is telling scary stories with just a touch of hope. Thank you to my friends and family for going the distance with me, especially my husband Brendan, for so many things, but mostly for putting up with my writer spirals. I'd like to say it gets better, but every seasoned author I've spoken to says otherwise. Thank you everyone at Affirm Press, not just for taking a punt on an unknown, but for acquiring a book with a pandemic in it during a pandemic, which was either a gutsy move or an admin error, I'm not sure which, but I'd like to think that it's panned out. Anomaly is in part a story about how the things we're told about ourselves when we're young can shape our perceptions of who we are, but also our ideas of what we might become. When I was a teenager, an avid reader of young adult literature and an aspiring writer, my mum, who raised me on her own through some very hard years and who first introduced me to Ethel Turner's writing with a beloved and battered copy of 7 Little Australians, told me I was perfectly capable of writing a book of my own one day if I set my mind to it. She said, you just have to write one good one. She's no longer with us, and she never got to read the book. But her words propelled me to this moment, and for that reason, this award belongs to her too. Thank you.
Unsurprisingly, there's a lot of emotion in this room tonight, or maybe that's just in me. So, to the Translation Prize, and can I just say how grateful I am for our translators. Thank you. The Translation Prize is also, like the Multicultural Prize, generously sponsored by Multicultural New South Wales, and it is valued at $30,000. It acknowledges the contribution made to literary culture by Australian translators and recognises the vital role that literary translators play in enabling writers and readers to communicate across cultures throughout the world. The judges for this biennial prize were Pamela Allen, Alison Croghan and Tiffany Zhao. And the shortlisted books are You Glow in the Dark by Liliana Colanzi, translated from Spanish by Chris Andrews, New Directions Publishing. The Trial of Anna Thalberg by Eduardo Sangarcia, translated from Spanish by Elizabeth Breyer, Restless Books. The Sun Story by Marie-Hélène Lafont, translated from French by Stephanie Smee, Mountain Leopard Press and Headline Publishing Group. For a Splendid Sunny Apocalypse by Jiang Tao, translated from Chinese by Josh Stenberg, Zephyr Press. What I'd Rather Not Think About by Jenta Postuma, translated from Dutch by Sarah Timmer Harvey, Scribe Publications. And the winner is The Trial of Anna Thalberg, translated by Elizabeth Breyer for Restless Books. We have a video acceptance from Anna, from Elizabeth.
Huge thanks to New South Wales Literary Awards and to Multicultural New South Wales. This is such an honour. Thank you to the judging panel. I admire each of your work so much, so this is incredible news to me. To the team at Restless Books, especially Jennifer Ellis-Drew, Rodrigo Aguilera, Paulina Ochoa, and the whole team. It's been such a pleasure to work with you, and thank you to independent publishers everywhere who champion translations as a way of enriching our literary ecosystem. Thank you, of course, to Vito Dongia. Thank you for introducing me to Eduardo's work all those years ago. I treasure that memory. And to Eduardo, of course, for writing such a creatively exciting novel. It's been such a pleasure, for being such a great human being as well. Tenías razón, este bebé viene con el pan bajo el brazo. To the organisers, this makes such a material difference to my practice. After this project, I had decided to wind back my translation activity. I couldn't see a way to make it viable. This changes all of that, and it also means that I can now do something I've been thinking about for a while, which is to change to make a future translation project, a co-translation, to make it a mentorship with an emerging translator who is a person of colour or a heritage speaker. This means that that is now possible, so thank you. Everyone have a wonderful night.
Who doesn't love writers? We are the best. Okay, Kenneth Slessor Prize for Poetry. Now, what a list this is. As judged by Rico Craig, Alison Croghan, James Jiang and Alison Whittaker. And the shortlisted poetry collections for the $30,000 prize are The Oblong Poet by Chris Andrews, Puncher and Watman. Rock Flight by Hasib Hourani, Giramondo Publishing. 36 Ways of Writing a Vietnamese Poem by Nam Le, Scribner Australia and imprint of Simon & Schuster Australia. Goimara Gathering by Janine Lane, UQP. Television by Kate Middleton, Giramondo Publishing. And the winner is Rock Flight by Hasib Hourani, Giramondo Publishing. Oops.
I had to do quite a long walk down because I didn't get a seat close to the stage in time. Okay, thank you so much to the judges, and congratulations to all the other shortlisted writers. It's a real honor to find myself as one of your peers, especially with a debut publication such as Rock Flight. I also want to thank everyone on the team at Giramondo, not only for giving me the creative freedom but also the political freedom to write Rockflight in the way that I envisioned. That was something that I knew from the jump was going to be really hard to find on this continent. Narratives of occupation, grief, and resistance are difficult to capture straightforwardly. I wrote Rockflight in order to explore both historical and speculative acts of liberation in Palestine. And so Rockflight is both a book about protests and one that acts as a protest for Palestinian liberation. Throwing a rock is one kind of protest, a book is another. A body in a crowd, a boycott. There are so many ways to resist, and we are doing them all together. We will see a free Palestine in this lifetime. Thank you, and good night.
The judges for the Douglas Stewart Prize for Non-Fiction were Sarah Mullick, Alan Atkinson, Madison Connaughton, Anton Innes, and Fiona Murphy. This award is valued at $40,000, and the shortlisted books are Deep Water by James Bradley, Hamish Hamilton, Australia. Bullet Paper Rock by Abbas Alzain, Upswell Publishing. Slick by Royce Kumelovs, UQP. Black Witness by Amy Maguire, UQP. The Lasting Harm by Lucia Osborne Crowley, Allen and Unwin. Cactus Pear for My Beloved by Samar Sabawi, Penguin Random House, Australia. And the winner is Deep Water by James Bradley, published by Hamish Hamilton.
Thank you. People who know me will be astounded to learn that not only did I read the instructions for tonight, which means that I know I have to speak for no more than a minute, but I wrote down what I needed to say so I wouldn't forget anything. To begin with, I'd like to say I'm incredibly honoured. This is a book I've been thinking about writing for more than 20 years, and for it to be recognised in this way means an unbelievable amount. I'd really like to acknowledge all the other nominated writers. They're all writing about profoundly important questions, and I'm hugely honoured to be shortlisted beside them. I'd also like to thank the judges. I think environmental questions are often sidelined, but like the ocean, they're at the centre of everything, and they touch every aspect of our lives, and I'm really grateful to them for placing environmental questions at the kind of forefront tonight. I'd also like to thank a few other people. I need to thank the copyright agents who made it possible for me to write this book by giving me their non-fiction fellowship in 2020. I couldn't have written this book without that financial assistance, and the financial assistance to this award means I can write another book, which is wonderful. I'd like to thank my agent, Matthew Turner. I'd like to thank all the many people who read drafts of the book. I'd particularly like to thank my friend Ashley Hay, who read draft after draft of chapters. You know, truly astonishing. I'd send her something and she'd send it back about half an hour later kind of way. She must have read about 400,000 words of my writing across the course of this book. I'd like to thank everybody at Penguin Random House. I'd especially like to thank my publisher Meredith Curnow, who believed in this book from the beginning, my editor Rachel Scully, who I think I gave a breakdown to, and my publicist, in fact, Tessa Robinson, who's no longer there, who was an incredibly powerful advocate for this book, and I really appreciate the work she did. And finally, I'd like to thank my kids, Annabelle and Theo, and my partner, Marty McConaughey, who's here tonight. We've been a team for almost as long as I've been writing, and I couldn't have written this book without her support and her love over a really long period of time, so thank you. I also wanted to say that sometimes it seems like books don't actually make anything happen, to borrow Auden's line, but my experience with this book has shown that's actually not the case. Books change minds, and by changing minds, they can change the world. And I think that matters more at the moment than it's ever mattered before. So thank you for this. I'm really honoured.
The judging panel for the Christina Stead Prize for Fiction is Deborah Adelaide, Enza Gandolfo, James Jiang, and Jen Martin. And the shortlisted books for this award, valued at $40,000, are One Another by Gail Jones, Text Publishing. Heartsease by Kate Krummick, Picador, an imprint of Pan Macmillan, Australia. Eden Glassy by Melissa Lukashenko, UQP. Highway 13 by Fiona McFarlane, Allen and Unwin. Days of Innocence and Wonder by Lucy Treloar, Picador, an imprint of Pan Macmillan, Australia. The In-Between by Christus Tolkis, Allen and Unwin. And the winner is Highway 13 by Fiona McFarlane, published by Allen and Unwin.
Hello, I'm Alex Craig from Allen and Unwin.
My final sentence. Sorry.
Yes. Fiona is on the road, travelling at the moment, so she asked me to read out this speech on her behalf. So good evening, everyone. I spend a lot of my time wishing I was in Sydney, my hometown, and that feeling is especially strong tonight. It's such an honour to receive the Christina Stead Prize for Fiction. To have Highway 13 recognised in this way, under Stead's name, means a great deal to me. Being on this shortlist was already an enormous honour. My sincere admiration goes to my fellow shortlisted writers. I'm proud to be in your company. An enormous thank you to the judges and to Premier Chris Minns, the Government of New South Wales, the State Library for your support of Australian writing. Thank you to my publisher for backing a book that approaches a sensational topic in a quiet, oblique way. Thanks to Jane Polterman, who helped bring this book into being. Thanks to Alex Craig, not least for reading this speech on my behalf. And everyone else at Allen and Unwin, especially Angela Handley, Ali Laveau and Ali Hampton. Thank you once again for this honour. Congratulations to all the other winners, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
And so to the University of Sydney's People's Choice Award. Over recent weeks, the public voted for their favourite book out of those shortlisted for the Douglas Stewart Prize for Non-Fiction, the Christina Stead Prize for Fiction, and, for the very first time, the Kenneth Slessor Prize for Poetry. The winner receives $10,000 thanks to the sponsor of this award, the University of Sydney, and we thank the University of Sydney for their support. And the winner is The Lasting Harm by Lucia Osborne Crowley from Allen and Unwin. Lucia is not able to join us tonight, so we have a video message.
Hi everyone. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we are all meeting on today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And I'd also like to acknowledge that at a ceremony that really celebrates literature, it's more important than ever for me to say that our job as artists and writers right now involves really speaking up for Palestinians who are being subjected to genocide and war crimes at the hands of the State of Israel. So I wanted to say all of that before I get started, saying thank you so much for this award. It means so much to me. Thank you to all the people who voted for the award. Thank you to all of the survivor community who voted for this award. This book is for survivors and by survivors and about survivors. And all I want for it is to reach as many survivors of sexual violence and child sexual abuse as possible. So this means the world to me. And thank you also so much to the judges of the Douglas Stewart Prize for Non-Fiction, without whom I wouldn't be eligible for the University of Sydney Prize. All of the judges on that panel are people I admire so much, so to have my book chosen by them is an enormous honour. Prizes like this mean so much to me, and mean that I can keep fighting for survivors and keep doing the journalism and literary work that I'm doing, and I appreciate that very much. I wish I could be with you in Sydney tonight, but I'm sending all my love and I'm there in spirit, and thank you so much.
I'll bet she's somewhere with better weather. Okay, down to the last two exciting awards for this evening. In exceptional circumstances, a special award is offered to recognise the achievements of an Australian individual, work or organisation, and it's valued at $10,000. I cannot begin to express the talent and dedication that was represented in the shortlist for this award, but I can tell you that this year the winner is Liminal. And here to accept the award is founding editor Lee-Jing McIntosh.
I'm going to drop this. I too would like to acknowledge that tonight we meet on unceded lands and pay my respects to elders past and present. My thanks to all of the 35 judges and to whomever nominated me, and to all of the people who worked so hard to make tonight possible. Liminal is a project driven by the desire to make visible the unacknowledged structures of racism that so dehumanize all of us. We work towards new ways of thinking, of seeing, of being in the world. That is to say, we work together towards a better future. We know we cannot do it alone. So thank you to especially to my co-editor, Sher Tan, and to everyone we've worked with, our editors, writers, readers, artists, arts workers, some of whom are here tonight, who have all understood the Liminal project and who, over the past decade, have been so generous with their talent and so generous with their time. This award is yours too. It is a true honour to be in community with you. I feel especially lucky to be here tonight because you can take one look overseas and witness in real time projects just like Liminal, projects devoted to diversity, equity and inclusion, being swiftly dismantled by the state and attacked in terrifying and disingenuous ways. How lucky we are then that our home, our literary community, takes a commitment to anti-racism seriously, takes our work seriously, and not only that, celebrates it. It is a true honour. Thank you so much.
And the final award of this evening, the Book of the Year. Firstly, congratulations to all the winners for this year. Each of the genre category winners are eligible for the Book of the Year. Past winners of this award include Ali Cobby-Eckermann, Tim Flannery, Michelle de Kretzer and Deborah Dank. Without further ado, I'm delighted to announce the Book of the Year is 36 Ways of Writing a Vietnamese Poem by Nam Lee, published by Scribner. Ben Ball is here to accept the award tonight. I just wanted to read the one final paragraph first from the judges, which says, the judges praised 36 Ways of Writing a Vietnamese Poem for its poetic brilliance, power and accessibility. With his trademark intimacy and precision, Lee playfully stretches the English language and poetic form to explore the complex realities of diasporic identity and experience. As we know, Nam was unable to join us tonight. Ben is going to accept the award on his behalf, and after that we have a recording of Nam just reading from that book of poetry. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. I knew I was here for some reason.
I was a bit worried when you came up earlier.
Actually, there is form, just on a personal note. When Nam won the Fiction Award 18 years ago, he refused to believe it and sent me up here without a speech. But this time he's written something. So this is, I had to pretend last time, but this is actually genuinely from him. Well, this is crazy. This is now Nam. This is crazy, thank you. It seems bad maths, not to mention bad manners and bad voodoo, to write a speech for an award I have no expectation of getting. So it should be stated for the record that the man standing before you now and his many means of gentle persuasion are to blame. I was given only 1 minute to say all my thank yous before, so here's what I would have gone on to say. Fate will decide. Earlier tonight, I dedicated my Multicultural New South Wales Award to my father, Lee Ho Fook. As a refugee, a veteran, an immigrant, as the outreach director of the Acacia India Chinese Children's Centre and beyond, he showed me that multiculturalism isn't a description or even a doctrine, but a constant negotiation, a constant questioning of the terms of belonging. And I think this moment might give him pause. He might worry now, as I do, and I know I'm not alone, that our multiculturalism may have become a bit complacent. If we think about the horror in Gaza, and how can we not, and how it has affected us here, perhaps we need new questions like, should the goal of multiculturalism be coexistence or cohesion? If cohesion, how do we make sure that social cohesion doesn't become social coercion, a means of preserving the status quo, of preserving power? What good is harmony if it only and always exists on terms dictated by power? If it's built on injustice or enforced civility, enforced silence? What good is diversity if it recognizes every group's difference, but not every group's dignity? What good is pluralism if it's not based on equality, if it privileges certain groups' fears or safety or victimhood over others? Back in my father's day, the big word in multiculturalism discourse was tolerance. Decades on, we've self-congratulatorily, this genuinely is now, by the way, self-congratulatorily progressed from tolerance to celebrating diversity. But if diversity is celebrated only when it knows its place, which is usually in food and costumery and motherhood statements, when it doesn't challenge or threaten power, then how is it more than mere colour wash? Forget integration or assimilation, melting pot or salad bowl. The burning question now seems to be whether our multiculturalism is capable even of tolerance under equal terms. For my father's sacrifice, for my children's sake, I hope it is. Thank you all for keeping these questions alive. Thank you for your good faith, and thank you for this incredible honour.
You think I write ignominy? Shame on you. It was your violence dumbed me, smeared me, reaved me. Your war I don't remember and won't let you forget. Moved me from place and sufficiency, from everything I didn't know I would have known. You would have known. Displace meant everything to me before the power went home. Shame on me. What do I know? What's Vietnamese in me could fit in a poem.
So much, Bernadette. That now concludes the awards ceremony. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join me in applauding all the winners and all those shortlisted writers tonight. I would like to do a final thanks to our sponsors, the New South Wales Government, Create New South Wales, Multicultural New South Wales, the University of Technology, Sydney, and of course the University of Sydney. I'd especially like to thank Bernadette Brennan, Dr. Bernadette Brennan. This is Bernadette's final year judging the Literary Awards, and under her sharp eye, she has successfully seen more than 1,400 entries assessed, 60 judges coordinated, and 30 awards given. This is an extraordinary feat. We're so grateful for Bernadette's astute mind and her great work. But now she's got her own book to write, so we've let her go for the third year. Please join me in thanking Dr. Bernadette Brennan. Now, most importantly, as you came in, you might have had a drink, but you might have also seen that the library shop is selling copies of all the winning and shortlisted books. There's no better thing that you can do for writers and publishers in this country than buy the book. So please, please, take time to look at the stall outside. Enjoy the party. I hope you'll be back at the library soon. You might have noticed that we've decanted 2 wings into 1 wing. Thank you, team. You are the absolutely amazing. It's been quite a week in the library. But we will reopen the Bashir Library in hopefully 6-7 months' time by the end of this year. Of course, the Sydney Writers' Festival kicks off tomorrow, and I hope to see you at some of the events, including, of course, a full day of activities here on Wednesday. I now invite the winners to the stage, but before I do, I know Bernadette thanked them. The team here are outstanding. I think I said it last year. I've been here 18 months, so I've had another year to see the brilliance, the quiet brilliance of all the people that work in this great library. And I want to do a big shout out to Lydia, who runs public programs and the awards. To Emma, it was her first year doing the awards. To Callum and Daniela, who are also in the public programs team, Tanya as well, and a big shout out to Vanessa and Claudine and Rani in particular. Thank you so much, you're the best. So have a wonderful night and enjoy the drinks outside and see you at the library soon. Thank you very much.